Good morning, everyone. My name's Corin, and I'm the Chief Executive of the Black Country Chamber of Commerce. And I'm going to talk for exactly 10 minutes, I've been told. I get warnings at 3 and 1 minute about what I think the future of town centres looks like. I talk very, very quickly, and apparently you've all got yellow cards as well that you can wave at me if I talk too quickly. And red cards if I don't make any sense, which is really terrifying because I don't often make sense. So I do apologise before it all starts. But I cover the whole of the Black Country Chamber of Commerce. We have about 1,200 paid members, and we're a not-for-profit business. And our business is there purely to support businesses to grow and to find new markets and to get better at doing things. And we also engage about another 4,000 or 5,000 businesses through training programs, our business festival, our big awards, those types of things. So we're going to start talking just very, very briefly about what high streets look at the moment. And we all recognise a lot of the big issues in high streets. So we know that the high streets have changed. And one of the views that we probably have, a few of us now who look at retail across the country with Chambers of Commerce, is the old high street is never coming back. That's gone for good now. People who think you're going to revitalise high streets to get them back in the old way that they were 10, 15 years ago, I think are delusional, personally. I think the way that high streets operate in the future will never be the way they were in the past. Everything's changed. Dudley and Bridie Hill know what it's like when a big out-of-town shopping centre like Merry Hill opens, and it has a big impact on high streets. If you want things to happen and to look differently, you've got to manage those spaces differently. But online shopping clearly is a big deal for us. Now, online shopping is a big thing, but actually it's not just the things you buy. It's not just Amazon that's actually closing our high streets down or making them difficult at the moment. Things are changing, aren't they? There's less things that you need to buy, less post offices, less travel agents, less banks, less recruitment agencies. All those things that if you wanted people to drop in and had to go to high streets to get them done, all those things are going now. It's not just the shops that are disappearing. Online shopping changes every single thing we do. And we know that, and we talk about it an awful lot. And the Express and Star probably call me, I reckon, 4 or 5 times a month to comment on, this next big shop has closed down. What do you think? What's the impact of that on the Black Country? What does that mean for us? It's BT's, it's Debenhams. What will happen to Marks and Spencer's? These shops are going. We can lament over them forever, but actually the reality is the way that we shop is changing. And delivery services are changing as well. Walsall actually has got one of the first dark kitchens. So Uber Eats is now delivering McDonald's. So you don't even have to go out your house to drive through McDonald's anymore. So in Walsall, there's going to be a dark kitchen. So no windows, just a normal McDonald's set up, no customers come in. It's purely people bringing in food and bringing them out again. So the way our shops are all being set up as well. First one's being piloted in Walsall, and that'll be rolled out across the country. Deliveroo means you don't need to go to those shops anymore. So why would you waste the money as a retailer actually having a shop front? It's a big deal for people. And the overheads, red card. Yeah, so a dark kitchen is normally in a retail shop like Pizza Hut or McDonald's, you sort of rely on people coming in to buy the food. But now if you've got Deliveroo or if you've got Uber Eats, you don't even need to go into shops anymore. So they're now starting to operate on industrial estates where no customers can come in. They're called dark kitchens because they don't sometimes have windows. So they operate purely as a shop would, as a takeaway would, but customers can't go in there, purely for delivery drivers. And it's the big overheads. This is the thing. This is where you can't compete if you're a shop. You think about the overheads a shop faces. Staff costs are pretty high. And if you've got to have staff on the shop floor and behind the scenes, business rates are a real big issue for people, as are rents. I was with Stephen, who pulled over from Poundland, and he was saying that about 22 years ago, rent used to be about twice the price of business rates. And that was how he based all his shops on, how Poundland was growing. And now it's about the other way around. Rents are coming down, but business rates are slowly going up, and there's reasons for that. But all of those other things, rising utility costs are going up every year. And if you're a shop, you've got to heat it, you've got to have water, all of those things. And ownership and developers are a big issue for town centres. You're going to hear next from Dudley Council. Trying to manage town centre space is so difficult because sometimes in the high street, you'll have 10 or 20 different owners of that land. Developers who are vying to actually change things around on the land, sometimes put office space on there. And the final bit is transport links. Anybody who drives around the Black Country in particular knows how hard it is to get around the Black Country. And if you're a shopper, to go into a shop in a retail area now is really, really difficult. If you haven't got a car, it's an absolute bloody nightmare sometimes to get from one place to the other. So those are the problems that the high street are facing at the moment. But it's not just a case that shops are closing down. Some things are bucking the trend. So some shops are opening up. They don't always make your high streets look brilliant though, unfortunately, do they? So these are sometimes the things you can't buy online or don't need to buy online. So hairdressers and nail bars, lots of those, because you can't yet get your nails done online. I'm sure 3D printers will sort that out sooner or later. Gyms are popping up all over the place. They're taking up loads of shops, loads of town centre gyms are opening up. Too many charity shops sometimes to make areas, you don't always have a really good retail offer. Betting shops, there's been an absolute explosion in betting shops. Those who've got mobile phones will probably do all the gambling online. I recognise most of you from the Betting Anonymous meetings I go to. But actually, some of the big issues with fixed price terminals, actually the online, the face-to-face shops where you can actually go in and put your credit card and win cash there and then. And as those rules are changing, we'll probably see less betting shops in the high streets in the future as well. Lots of coffee shops and lots of convenience stores. These are all things that you can't really get online at the moment. But if you look down that list, bit by bit, some of those things will end up online as well. So how do you, as a community groups, start to address that? What do high streets look like? Is there a future for any sort of high street? And I genuinely think there's quite a gloomy picture if you just look at the way things were, but I think there's a really way to be visionary about the way things that could be. So there's this idea that I really believe in called community-led regeneration. You have to make high street spaces and approach them in a very, very different way. 3 minutes to go, thank you. And what this looks like is about how you, as we as communities, start to use that space in a different way. And it has to be a space for communities. And long, narrow streets with shops on either side might not necessarily be the way things look. How do you bring public services into those spaces? More green spaces to play and to relax around. Actually, different types of services. Do social services in councils necessarily have to be in council offices? Are there ways that we can use people, make those spaces a little bit more imaginative? Rents and rates need to be appropriate to the areas around them. Amazon last year paid less than 0.7% of its UK turnover in overheads, whereas most high street shops, with all the things we spoke about a moment ago, pay between 5 and 10% in overheads. You cannot compete as a retailer. So if we don't do something drastic, we've got to reduce those costs. But that then means that local councils have to generate more money from other places because they rely on those business rates at the moment to put the money into other areas. Landlords, there's some great landlords around and there's some bloody terrible landlords around. But actually sometimes when there's an empty unit that needs to be bought or changed into something, this idea is that landlords sometimes hold on to property a little bit too long, and actually sometimes they think their business is worth £1 million when really the commercial values are £100,000 for it. And there's lots of haggling that goes on trying to bring that down so the councils can do stuff on it. That's a big issue for us. I love the business improvement district model. It's difficult when you have to actually get those bids through for a vote, but there's ideas around community improvement districts. So not just asking the businesses about what's needed in those areas, asking the communities what's there. And that way, if you know what a business improvement district is, you all have a big vote on your business rates. If you all agree to increase your business rates, they go up by about 1%. And all that money is kept together, and that big pool of money, sometimes about £400,000 or £500,000 a year, is spent back on the area, which is really good. And this idea that you have a level playing field around not just about how you sell things, but at the rates around them for online and physical sales. And that picture's a nice idea of leisure space, of retail space, community space. You bring people together. And ideally that way, the high street or the retail experience is smaller, but it still exists. And if we don't do something brave with the way we do things, I don't think we'll have high streets. So thank you.
Great, lovely.